Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Lillian and I do content on house chores as I give a twist, and on a twist I mean a story that is meant to encourage you or give you a life lesson. And if you're coming back, thank you so much, and I do appreciate all your support. So today I'm going to be tackling the dishes. As I said last time, this is one of my favorite chores, and I hope you watch through to the end. If you like this kind of content, kindly do hit on that subscribe button and the notification bell for you to get notified every time I upload a new video. So for today's twist, I'm going to be giving a story of two people who had two different outcomes, and these are life experiences that you might have gone through, or you know somebody who has gone through it. So kindly do listen to the very end. If you like this kind of content, kindly do hit that subscribe button, and I would really appreciate a comment down below. So today I'm going to be basing my twist on the book of Psalms chapter 1, which says, "Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stands in the path of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers." I would like to encourage you to read on through the very last verse of this chapter. It's really talking about the fruits of doing that which was commanded in the first what do we call it, the verse that we have just read. So kindly do read through. It goes up to verse 6. It's not a long chapter, so I'll dive into the story. And I had this story and it was a bit sad, but let's just listen in. So I had this story of a lady named Rachel, and Rachel was she was brought up in a very good family setup, and she was a bubbly girl throughout her young life, and she had a sister, and she had a good relationship with her parents. And as she went to high school, things just took a twist. Things just started happening in her life, and that was in terms of her friends. And as a teenager, they usually attach their relationships on friends. So when she started losing her friends, things just went downhill for her. And these friends, she was losing them like for real. Like they were either being shot accidentally, or accidental drowning, or some of them just committed suicide. And it was not rubbing Rachel the right way, like it would for anybody. And one day she lost a very close friend of hers, and this friend was had an accident, and he suddenly just died. They were very close, and this one just it took her down, really down. She even started drinking, taking drugs, and eventually she stopped going to school. Well, this was the beginning of her downfall. And when all this was happening, her family was trying to talk to her and to try and ease this. The root of it was the loss of her friend. So unfortunately they were not successful, and Rachel joined a gang. She just started dating the wrong kind of people, and this one particular guy was called John. was a gang member, and he was one of the lead in that gang. And this gang was just, they were stealing drugs, selling some, using some, and all they would do all day is just play video games, and that's it. So that became her life as well. And her family didn't know about this young guy, and when they met, he was in prison at the time. So the father found out about him through a phone bill, and she didn't hide it. She just said, I just see the good in this guy, I don't see the bad, and I know he can change. Okay, they couldn't stop her, but they would advise her not to continue, but she didn't stop. So eventually the guy was released because he was just in and out of jail. And when he was released, the relationship continued. And unfortunately, it became worse for her because now it was a physical relation. So the guy started, abusing her, beating her up. And the sister would try and intervene and tell her, oh, you deserve better. You better just get off this relationship. And eventually she did get tired and she left the relationship. And it looked as if she had turned a new leaf. And they started having connections with the family, because during the whole time she had left school, there was no connection with the family. She wasn't talking to her family, she wasn't interacting with them. And now finally she started reconnecting. She started going to church, and one day she just told the dad, you know what, I met this amazing young man, his name is Maurice. Maurice was also a member of the same gang, but it's like they were talking of how they would leave the gang and go back to school. And the dad was so excited, and he was like, oh, I would really want to meet this young man who has changed you. And she looked as though she had finally gotten back to being herself again. She was very ambitious, by the way, because in her earlier days, she used to say she wanted to become a vet, and she was capable of doing so because her family says she loved animals, and they were just seeing the bright future she had. So when she mentioned going back to school, they were all excited. And unfortunately, one day things just went haywire. So she was invited to this party. But the reason why she was invited to this party, it was like a rumor going around that now because she left John, now she's dating Maurice. There was this fear of her, because now she was leaving the gang, of her passing secrets from one gang to the other, and she became a threat, and it was like they were after her to kill her. And during the invitation of this party, it was like to affirm to them that she had not quit the gang to go and join another or share their secrets to another. So she went for the party. It had these 7 guys. The party was of 7 guys, including this Maurice. So during the party, with her bubbly self, she started laughing. They started laughing and enjoying themselves. And all of a sudden, John walks in and he's like, why are you so happy? Like, he started causing a fight. Oh my goodness. So things went downhill from there. And before I continue, I had this amazing story of the CJ, David Maraga, and he was giving a story of his life. And he said in primary school he was, baptized. He was a Seventh-day Adventist, and he was so much into church and he loved the things of God. But when he joined secondary school, things took a turn for the worse. He joined the wrong company and he started by drinking. And he says he drank himself 20 years on until he got married. He went to uni, got married, had children, and he was still drinking 20 years on after high school. And he would say that he would come home at around 3-4 o'clock in the morning and ask for food. And the wife would be like, am I giving you dinner or am I giving breakfast? It was just that bad. So he would say that the Spirit of God kept telling him he was not in the right place. And eventually he did listen to that voice. So again, guys, God knows the reason why you were born, and he had a mandate for you. He had my spiritual mom says that every child who is born, he's born for a solution. He is born with a solution of a certain problem that is there. Like the story of Moses, he was born to deliver the children of Israel. So every child has a mandate on this earth. So finally, David Maraga says that he turned back and he went back to church, and he rediscovered his purpose. After discovering his purpose, he went back to uni and did his master's. 34 years after graduation, he went back to do his master's, and he graduated. And he says that, let me just quote what exactly he said. This was beautiful. I wouldn't be the CJ today if I hadn't gone back to Christ. I would have drunk myself silly, and I don't know if I would still be alive. That was powerful. He wouldn't have become the Chief Justice of this country if he didn't turn a new leaf, if he didn't go back to the roots of going back to Christ. So back to my story of Rachel. And Rachel, in that party, things just went wrong for her. And John said, you know what, we need to kill her. This girl will sell us. And he started beating her in front of these guys. And of course, they joined in and beat her up, pretty bad. And then they put her in the garage and left her there to decide what they would do with with her. So while in the garage, one of the girlfriend of this gang people, there were 7 of them. There were 8 now, including John. So one of the girlfriends of these guys, the 7 guys, she came in and she saw Rachel. When she went up to take a knife to free her, John saw her and stopped her. And she said, you know what, I'll call the police if you don't take her out of this place. So they took her out. They put her in the car, in the boot, and then they drove off to a forest. So they had decided to kill her. They were discussing, should we gang rape her and then release her? Should we, put her on ransom, then call the dad? And can you imagine, guys, people trying to negotiate for your life? It's crazy. So unfortunately, they decided to kill her. So they took her to a forest, and then they had put her in a bag, and then they left her there. So the person who was supposed to man her so that they can go back to the shops and buy a shovel and actually do the deed, they left her with Morris. You remember Morris, the one she was dating and who appeared to change her? Yes, he was left with her, and she started begging for her life. And then she realized this guy is not even budging. So she told him, I know I'm gonna die today, but please don't put me in water, don't drown me, just let me die in a better way, not drowning. And it didn't help her. He had a chance to, but he didn't. So unfortunately, the guys came back. The grave was dark as she watched, and then she was told to remove her clothes. They wanted to remove her clothes, and then she said, I will remove them myself. Imagine she just removed her clothes, entered that grave, and then she started praying. And this John guy started shooting her from the back of her head. He shot, emptied the gun. It jammed, continued, and she was already gone. So that's how Rachel died. Okay, she was... I don't know. It was sad. That's how she died. They buried her and left, and it was like there's nothing happened. So finally, a few days later, she was discovered and all that, and of course they were all arrested, and they were jailed between 9 years and 37 years, and there was one who was jailed for life. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, it matters a lot who is around you, or where you're seated, or who interacts with you. It does matter. And God, as our creator, knows the mandate he put on you. As a human being, we all have a place on this earth. It doesn't matter whether it looks like we are overpopulating the earth. God knows your mandate. God knows the reason why you're here. And he has a purpose and a plan and a solution he put in you for your generation and for your time. What we need to do is rediscover God and rediscover what his intentions upon our lives are. I hope I've encouraged you. I hope I have given you a chance to rethink of your purpose in this life. And if you are in a situation where you just cannot get yourself out, God has you in mind. Call upon his name and he will answer and show you great and mighty things. So God bless you. Thank you for watching. Until the next video, goodbye.